7 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. All right. Good evening. Welcome to
Recording in progress.
Welcome to the Town of Norfolk Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, October 11, 2023. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, notice hereby given that the Conservation Commission will meet on this date. Additional public access to the meeting shall be done via Zoom or video conferencing, so as to be one that we are being videotaped today. Okay, so what I need first is a vote to open the Conservation Commission meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion passes. All right. Do we have anyone here from 68 River Road? Didn't think
The
so.
applicant stated that he may, it looks like he's on, joining us on Zoom. In my memo, I listed out comments that were issued by Mass DEP when they also issued the file number for the project. There were quite a few comments, so as such, the applicant's representative is working on plan revisions. So they have requested a continuance to the next available meeting, which would be November 8th.
Okay. All right, so what do you need now?
Motion?
So what's happening now is I'll need a motion to continue this hearing on this DEP number to November 8th at 7:01 PM.
Adam Zucker moves that we issue a continuance for DEP 2400663 until November 8th
Yeah.
at 7:01.
All in favor? Or do I need a second?
Finney seconded.
All right, now I have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. So we'll move River Road to 7:01 PM on Wednesday. All right. Next is 11 Everett Street. Do you want to give us a synopsis of what's going on, Caitlin?
So just to
Do we need to open this, or is this?
We need to wait 3 minutes or 2 minutes?
3 minutes.
It's on
Let's see
the
what we-
schedule for 7:05.
Do you want
Yeah,
we
you're right.
can,
Yeah, we do. We need to wait to 7:05.
Chair could consider moving up the minutes.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking, we could do the leachate report or the water and wetland survey results, one of the two, because they're just correspondence. Is that a possibility, or you could look at the minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any comments on the latest leachate report.
Well, you're from 11 Everett Road? That's correct, yes. So, as soon as he's done speaking, I'm sure it'll be 7:05.
Yeah, we just
So-
have to wait.
I can do stand-up.
You can stand and hold the microphone, that's all right. It's just,
That'd be a first.
Well, we can't open it until
we can't
7:05.
open it until 7:05 in case
Okay.
there's a neighbor, someone else here that wants to speak. Unfortunately, when we say 7:05, we have to wait till
Sure.
7:05. So,
I'll wait.
there's,
We're about 58 seconds, I think.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
any issue?
I want to hear some stand-up.
No? No issues with the last minutes, or possibly issues? No?
I just made some formatting changes. I justified all the paragraphs, which is probably unnecessary, but
Now, do we need to address who's signing the minutes?
Well, I guess Jim would sign these.
Who usually signs them? Don't you?
Maggie.
Before, when I
Maggie
was
does.
both,
Oh, Maggie, that's right. I forgot.
that's Maggie,
She's no
so
longer-
we've got a choice. I don't know if we need to put it on the agenda or not. We need another secretary.
to restructure or restructure.
Or we could go back to the chair signing
I could just do it
before we had a,
again until next month, and then we could vote again when David's here, and, talk to him about how we want to proceed.
because they can all be signed.
Yeah, we have a quorum, so we could vote a person in for, and then next month, if the person doesn't want to do it. I mean, we're just mainly just signing the
We're-
minutes and that type of
You,
stuff.
all four could sign tonight, and then the topic could be brought up at the next meeting
Continue.
Yeah.
of the individual that will be responsible from then on.
Yeah, we should wait till David's here.
My
to-
only question I have is I didn't see a copy of the minutes. They're not prepared, are they? So we can't really vote on them if they're not prepared yet.
No. So it's not
Oh.
a non-issue
A
at the
non-stop.
moment,
Yes.
but something for future consideration. And we are at
Yes.
7:06.
7:06.
Yes, we can move
All right.
ahead with Everett.
Okay, 11 Everett Street, so to recap, this notice of intent was filed for the construction of a detached garage on a lot that has an existing single-family home. The majority of the work will take place within the 100-foot buffer zone. Some of the garage itself would be located in the 0 to 50-foot buffer zone. However, as we discussed last time, that area is already altered. There's where that driveway, or where the garage will be going in the 0 to 50-foot buffer zone. It's paved right now. So there really isn't a net impact to the buffer zone there. And then Mass DEP had one comment just regarding the erosion control barriers and that they should be identified, like the type and the location, which we also did discuss at the last meeting. In response to that, I proposed a couple additional special conditions to consider. The first would be requiring a minimum 8-inch diameter silt sock to be installed at the limit of work, connecting with the existing rock wall, the northern corner of the property. A plan or specs showing the location of the proposed erosion control methods should be submitted to the Concom prior to the start of work. Additionally, prior to start of work, the conservation agent or a representative of the commission shall inspect the erosion control barrier, and then notice should be given at least 1 week prior, so a site inspection can be set up.
And the DEP of 50 portion
No,
of the
they did
site?
not.
The garage? Okay.
Just the, just
The
the,
barriers.
yeah, erosion control
Okay.
comment.
I believe, Mr. Chair, didn't we discuss all this and approve it? We're just waiting for a DEP number?
Right.
That's all
That's my
I think-
recollection.
Yeah, so, like I said, yeah, we had already kind of talked about, we, looked at the plan where the existing rock wall is and where the erosion control barrier would go.
We'd come to a consensus on
Yeah.
approving it,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
we just need a DEP
Yeah.
number, so I don't see
So-
any reason. We got Caitlin's comments, which are what we discussed.
Yep. Any,
Okay.
So if there are no comments from the public, I think the commission would be ready to
Yep.
entertain a
So do,
motion to close the hearing.
Okay. If you want to state your name and address?
Joseph Serino, 11 Everett Street. I'm here with my wife, Mary Ann.
Okay.
And are you okay with the proposed special conditions
Yes.
that were
we-
discussed?
Yes. We did discuss this last time.
Okay.
Right. Is there anyone else here for 11 Everett Street?
Just me.
No one,
can we presume you're not objecting?
He might be out there a long time.
I don't believe so.
Any members have any comments?
No, business.
Nope.
You objecting?
Okay, so
You objecting?
No, not.
Okay.
we'll do is, someone make a motion to issue the orders of conditions with,
We need to
The
close
special
first, Jim?
conditions.
We
What's
need to
that?
close this first?
yeah.
Correct, yeah, the public hearing should be closed
All
first.
right.
I'll make a motion to close DEP 11 Everett Street, DEP number 240-0662.
Also, and I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, now,
I'll now make a motion to, what do I want to say here?
Issue.
To issue a notice of intent for
Order of conditions.
order of conditions for DEP number 240-0662.
Adam Zucker, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
So when will those be ready? Tomorrow, or you want, what do you want to do first?
Yeah, so I can get in touch with you tomorrow. I just gotta revise the language to include the
have
information
them-
about the erosion
You
controls.
have them for us to sign tonight?
Yeah, we have the signature page.
Okay, very good. So, yep, you'll be able to pick them up tomorrow.
Okay. Have a good
Thank you,
night.
have a good night.
Good night, you guys.
All right, thank you. Good luck. All right. All right, and 11:11, or 7:11. All right,
And
9 Pennacook Street. We need a motion to open the public hearing for 9 Pennacook Street.
Adam Zucker, so moved.
Al Finney seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, Caitlin, you want to give us,
You want to read the hearing notice?
what's that?
The hearing notice? Notice of hearing there? Can you read that?
Oh, for,
Right, 9 Pinnacle?
all right. Let's see. How do you have them? Which is which one? Oh, Lakeshore Drive, I'm sorry. 9 Pennacook Street, okay. All right, in accordance with the provisions of MGL C-131S40 and the Town of Norfolk Wetlands Protection Bylaw and regulations thereto, the Norfolk Commission will hold a public hearing in Room 124 at the Norfolk Municipal Building on October 11, 2023 at 7:10 PM to consider a notice of intent filed for Timothy Martin for the construction of a single-family home and associated site improvements, including a sewage disposal system. The proposed work is within the 100-foot buffer zone to the bordering vegetative wetlands. The property is located at 9 Pennacook Street in Norfolk, Mass., Assessor Map 17, Block 34, Lot 77. Application materials available for public inspection at the Conservation Commission office during regular hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right. So now, I guess you can talk about 9 Pennacook Street.
So I believe the applicant's representative, Mr. Glossa, can speak to the project. We can pull up the plan.
If you'd like, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so as long as this green light's on, I can do anything
Sounds
else?
like you're good.
That's all that it takes.
So, Mr. Chairman and members
Oh,
of
you
the
just have
board.
to state your name, John.
Yeah, my name is John Glossa, Glossa Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. And
Thank you.
the applicant, Tim Martin, is also here with me. In case anyone doesn't know where Pennacook Street is, if you went up Fruit Street towards Medfield, take a left on Chickatobit, or take a left on, is it Private Stillwell, go all the way down the bottom of the hill, and Pennacook Street, or these lots are, Pennacook Street's down the bottom of the hill, these lots are closer to Chickatobit than to the other end where Private Stillwell is. And They are on the opposite side from Fruit Street, if you know what I'm saying. So there are two lots. The one to the right, as you're looking at the plan, is currently under construction. These lots, it took a little while for us to get septic system approvals. Not that the soils are all that bad. I mean, they're not great, but they're not all that bad. But the better soil is fairly deep in the ground, about 6 feet down or so. So we need to wait until the water table drops low enough to do the perk test, because the upper layer does not perk very well. So over time, we were able to get both of these lots approved, get septic systems designed, and on both lots, this lot, 9 Pennacook, the Board of Health has approved the septic system, and that has allowed us to go forward. We've had these wetlands flagged for a while. They were flagged by PAR. PAR has 2 offices. One's in Foxborough and the other is in Lincoln, Rhode Island. We've done a lot of work with them over the years. Interestingly enough, there's no actual water body on this lot or the lot next door. You actually need to go all the way down to Massachusetts Ave before you'll actually see some water. But apparently, and I'm not a wetlands expert, but apparently there's enough wetland vegetation at the rear of this lot and the rear of the abutting lot to qualify for bordering vegetated wetland. But if you went out there, you would not see any flowing water, that's for sure. So you can see we located the wetland flags. We identified the 50-foot no disturb area. And then we placed the septic system towards the front of the lot as best we can. This is going to be a 4-bedroom house, so that's designed for 4 bedrooms. We placed the house that a potential buyer wants to have built on this lot, and then we have a driveway. It's a front entry house. So, as you can see, to create the separation to the water table. So for us, I think we had the water table at about 20 inches under the ground, so that wouldn't sort of generate wetlands, but we have to be 4 feet above that. So the bottom of our system, 4 feet, takes about another 2.5 feet or so to get to the top of the leach field. So you can see how it's sort of mounded up around the front, around the left side, and towards the back. And therefore, the grading of this lot will be such that the rear of the building is a walkout, right? So there's no bulkhead door. You're simply walking out of the basement floor at the elevation of the ground behind the house. And then you can see we've essentially ringed the proposed disturbed or altered area with erosion control, and I believe it's either an 8 or probably a 10-inch compost sock with also a silt fence, and all of the areas are shown to be loamed and seeded or otherwise stabilized with plantings and mulch prior to us asking for a certificate of compliance. And then the final thing I would say, and there is a note on there, is that it's very likely that any foundation contractor here is going to hit water. So we want that contractor to contact us, to contact your agent prior to them starting to do any dewatering operation. We want to know how they're going to control that, where they're going to control that, and how that's going to work. And I know one question you might say is, John, how come you don't show that on the plan? And that's because whatever we show on the plan, they're going to want to do something else. Believe me, happens all the time. So we just find it better to nail them down to say, look, you have to call the engineer, you have to call the Conservation Commission agent, and we're all going to go out there and you're going to show us how you're going to do this. I've just found that that works a lot better than me trying to tell them what they're going to do and then them telling us that that's not how they want to do it. So if that's palatable to you, it's fine with me. If it's not palatable to you, we'll show a design on the plan, but they're probably going to be calling Caitlin saying, we're going to do something different. So it's the way we handled it next door, and it's the way I've handled it with actually just about every application that I do where we know there's going to be dewatering is going to be necessary. So I think, well, the other thing is it is connected to the water system, so we don't have a well here. We're connected to the town water. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I can answer any questions, or Tim can answer any questions that you might have.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit, Caitlin, do you think? What do you?
Yeah, I guess since we're on the topic of dewatering, so at 11 Pennacook, the company working there did not contact me. And I was, a resident had reached out about a week ago with photograph evidence showing that they were dewatering directly into the 50-foot noticer buffer zone. I always think it's, I mean, if a contractor is going to look at any of the permitting documents, they're going to look at the plan. They're probably, I hate to say it, not going to read the entire order of conditions. It's always the safest bet to include as many details as possible on the plan itself. Unless, I mean, even if you were to have some sort of pre-construction meeting with, you know, all the parties, the contractor can, you know, pull out one week and it could be a different company the next week. One company could be, you know, laying the foundation, another company could be doing site grading. So it gets messy, and once construction has been started, it's easier to prevent erosion issues and dewatering into the buffer zone before it happens than try to reel it back once things have started.
So just, Caitlin, that note is on the other plan too, for the one you're talking about. So, but I would just suggest then, you really should, and in most towns, we do have a pre-construction meeting with everyone before they start, so that they know, you know, what their responsibilities are. If you feel more comfortable with us putting some dewatering on there, we can, but like I said, my experience has always been that they want to do something different anyway. So, but whatever makes you happy, but I would just tell you, I would encourage you to have pre-construction meetings, especially in a case like this. And I'm telling you, and you know, you've seen what happened next door, is that dewatering here is most likely going to be needed. I know we had a very wet year this year, but even if you don't have a wet year, dewatering here is probably going to be required. So I would put that in as a condition, and would not, and you know, you can let the building department know that, you know, they can't start until they, you know, have a pre-construction meeting. In this case, I probably really good idea.
Yeah, so you know, even if the exact, you know, details of how, you know, how the dewatering takes place, if it's on the plan, you know, assuming that aren't impacts, you know, beyond the approved limit of work, that could go in as a minor modification versus an amended order of conditions. I think it makes sense to add to the plan, and then I actually hadn't been able to fully review 11 Pennacook. I did not know that there were dewatering details in the plan.
No, the notes on the plan.
Oh, the notes on the plan.
Yeah,
So
that they're supposed to contact
That-
you.
yeah, so I think the more specs that can be shown on the plan, the higher chance that there aren't any construction-related impacts. And if groundwater is only down about 20 inches, it's more likely than not that dewatering will need to take place at some point during the project. So.
This whole area is saturated year-round. All of
Yeah,
Pennacook, from Mass Ave to Chickatobit, water runs out the banks of the houses on the other side of the road, and it's always wet, always.
No, that's why,
Even
believe
without
me-
all the rain
believe
we've
me,
had.
I'm on your side. I don't like to hear what Caitlin just said, is that there's somebody out there who, I did the plan, put this notes on there, told the board and Janet DeLonge that all this stuff was going to happen, and it didn't happen. That's a mistake, and I'm not really too happy about that. So, and I agree with you. I mean, it's a wet site. There are times when you can dig down, and it's just that the water moves so slowly through the soil that you're not going to really have to deal with it. But there's other times, like right now, and probably through until next June or so, when, if someone goes out there, they're going to have to deal with it. And I'm not saying it can't be dealt with. It just needs to be dealt with correctly. So I guess what I'm hearing, or what I'm going to tell you, is what we would be amenable to. We would be amenable to putting the details on the plan for dewatering, but we would also be amenable to a condition that says that there must be a pre-construction meeting with the agent, the engineer, and the contractor prior to any work being done at all. How's all of this going to work? How
That
does the
gives Caitlin an
contractor
opportunity
see this?
to go out there and make sure that, with both of you, that, any of the barriers are up, the expectations of barrier and the watering. And then gives her the chance to look at her schedule to make sure that before you start construction, she's had a chance to see the barriers to make sure they're right. And then when you're starting to do anything to have any issues with watering that she needs to see, she'll be aware of what's going to happen.
Yeah, again, I don't have any, and I'm sure Tim doesn't have any problem with a condition that says that. So, the other site, we were asked to stake out where the barriers were going to go. We were not asked to come out and view the barriers after they were in, but again, that's a condition that other towns use, is the engineer has to write a letter to the commission saying, we went out, we staked the barriers, and then when they were put in, we went back and we viewed them, and they were, in compliance with the order of conditions. I don't see that as being something that's extraordinary. There's many towns that require us to do that, so I don't really have an issue with that.
So whatever you see, my point of view, whatever you see is going to aid in making sure this project comes out correctly, especially being the type of soil, topsoil, and then how far down you have to actual really good permeable soil, and then the fact that the whole area is just a giant hydro pond. So
Yeah, there's two times when, dewatering's more than likely going to be required. When they put in the foundation, and then when they put in the septic system. So there's two times that we need to talk to the contractor to make sure he understands what's expected of him or her, because, as I said, it's very uncomfortable for me to stand here now knowing that, the people next door did not follow the plan and the sort of agreement that we all had with each other. So I don't like that. I don't like doing this to have to explain it. But again, I think that, the best way for you to do it is condition it and then use John whenever you want to say, John, did you look at this or whatever you need to do. Would much rather do that than be standing here trying to explain, or listening to what's going on next door. That's just not something that should have happened.
No, I think it's all reasonable.
Yes, and so I did go out to the site September 26th. I looked at the flag boundary. I looked at a lot of the soils on the upland side. And they were definitely tricky, but they weren't hydric. But they, there were signs of that high groundwater table. But I didn't have any comments on the flag boundary. One thing that maybe you could explain to the commission now is the issue with lot 77, 78, and 79. So evidently there was a recent planning board decision that essentially eliminated lot 78. That there was a plan that appeared to have been recorded at the registry that shows just lot 79 and lot 77. So I think additional information needs to be submitted further explaining that, so the commission, one, can confirm that exactly what lots the work is taking place on, and whether or not the owners of the lot or lots, if there are more than one lots, have all signed the notice of intent. From everything that I've reviewed, I don't feel comfortable recommending the commission either way on whether or not all the applicable property owners have signed the notice of intent, and whether or not lot 78 has currently exists, or if the assessors have gone through the process of approving the new configuration.
Yeah, well, the assessors really don't approve it, but
Or whoever, the approving authority.
I can explain it to you. It's just sort of cryptically, I would say. So originally there were 3 lots here. But because you can see, to develop each lot, it takes more area than what each of the individual 3 lots have. So lot 77 and lot 78, so lot 78 was split into 2 lots. So lot 77 and lot 78 will have a deed that will be 1 lot. So just to back up a little bit, so simply the action of a surveyor splitting a lot and that plan being filed at the Registry of Deeds does absolutely nothing. It's not until someone writes a deed, an attorney writes a deed, and the land is sold from one entity to another, right? Because if I could just simply draw lines on a plan and file it at the Registry of Deeds, and then, it doesn't really do anything, because if it did, I'd be a gazillionaire, because I'd be subdividing everybody's land and taking it for myself, so to speak. So it didn't really do anything. I know what you're saying. There's multiple plans filed. The planning board was asking us to do certain things, but right now what's happening is lot 77 and lot 78A are combined to create one buildable lot, which will be conveyed from the current owners to the next owner.
So that it hasn't transferred hands yet, since it's been considered one continuous lot.
Right,
Right. You knew something about this, right?
right. So when the transaction gets made, then that's when the assessors sort of catch up with the lots. But in the meantime, the assessors are going to show it the way it's found at the Registry of Deeds. I don't know if they show that now. It happens every January 1st. The Norfolk County Registry of Deeds takes all of the plans that were filed down there and sends them back to the assessors. And then the assessors make their decision on whether they're going to show them as individual lots or not. It has to do with ownership, not necessarily just drawing the lines. Some towns are very quick and, show them right away on their assessor maps. Others wait until they see the conveyances.
So your concern is to make sure we're talking about the right property,
Yeah,
right?
is that this lot?
That's one of, so,
And this lot contains the entirety of 77 and 78 that we see on the plans, correct?
Yeah, and that's how the,
part of, because
All right, well, then we should be able to see an Exhibit A that describes those. And if we just continually refer to them as 77 and 78 jointly, then we know what we're talking about, right?
yeah,
And that's the
That's how
concern.
it's termed in the Notice of Intent application.
Yeah.
Map
Then-
70, map 17, block 34, lots 77 and 78.
and
Right.
77 and 78
Oh.
have the same owner?
That was
Well-
my question I have. Should we even be talking about this if it hasn't been settled yet in court that the lots are
I don't
owned
think
by
there's
that
any-
person?
There's no
There's-
court.
Or-
They're held
or
in,
been
they're held
deeded?
they're held in trust,
Right.
so it depends on who the trustees are of the trust, so.
So the order would have to be recorded on the deeds for both lots, and then there would have to be specific language in the order of conditions, making
'cause we
sure
send
that
it
when
to-
it does get conveyed, that the order goes along with it.
Because the orders are going to go to a lot, not a future lot. Whatever's recorded now.
They go to a deed.
Where our orders
They
are
go
gonna
to a
go.
deed, yeah.
So that's, I guess, the concern. And I also
It's
have,
not
And then-
deeded properly yet.
Where are
How
they
can we
going
make
to?
an order for it?
And I'm definitely not an expert on what goes on at the registry.
Well, none of us, I don't
Well,
think are, but
The point of ownership
You're right.
does make a difference now, because like, you say it's held in trust, but is the both of those lots held in the same trust?
I think they're in different trusts.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Then we need
The
to,
trustees are the same people, though. So
Oh.
each lot is held in a separate named
Yes,
trust.
yes.
But the trustees are the same.
yeah, well, that's a problem, because the trust owns the property, you're not the people. So we do need to combine that somehow, right? Make
So a representative from both trusts would need to sign. And if, in fact, there's the same trust, I don't know much about trusts either, but I
This is a
think the
simple
commission needs
solution.
confirmation that whoever signed the notice of intent form as the owner has the authority to sign for both lots.
that,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't,
there you
that's what
go.
we need, and we don't have
Yeah.
that yet.
It sounds like it should be simple to figure out, but I just, presently.
two trustees are very close, I can tell.
I hope they are,
Have
because
them,
usually
then
that's
have
where the-
them deed it to an entity singularly.
Okay, hang
They
on.
could deed both of the
Hang on.
lots to an entity.
Tim's going to explain it for you.
Good evening, everyone. Tim Martin, 40 Turner Street. I just had the title examiner on the phone. I just want to thank you for the other comments on the other lot that I have no involvement in with at this time relative to the dewatering and no notification. I do know the builder. I'm going to call him tomorrow about that, just so you know. So, and I would encourage that the board does do both the conditions about put the dewatering plan on there and put the note on there about notification for the meeting, because I wasn't involved in that. I had no ownership at that time, but I'm going to call him on that. Now to fast forward to this piece, you're correct in that we had 3 lots. and the middle lot has been split. We worked extensively with town council on this because it was very confusing. And we got into a lot of issues with merger, the issues on the trust and so forth. It went on for months, all summer. At town council, what we did, the resolution was this. Town council has given the opinion to the building commissioner, Bob Bullock, that this is a buildable lot. You've seen how it's been divided. Both lots are in trust right now, but the idea is, once everything's approved, was then those two would be combined legally with a deed from the two trusts into one entity. Because of merger and other legal issues, it was advised not to do it until we had all that. Town councils looked at this all summer long. It took a long time to get through the questions that you're getting through. So that was a resolution to it. We took their lead on it, their advice, and that's how we did it. And now we have the opinion from them through the building department that they're buildable lots as is. To John's point on the assessor, they'll catch up. We met with the assessor because it was so confusing on assessing these lots. Then you get a building permit. It was extremely confusing. We've met with them on that issue. They won't be resolved until January of this coming year, but they're well aware of the situation on that. So we know the first lot's been resolved, and the new lot will be assessed when they're combined that way. Right now, they're not buildable because there's no permit to build. So to your point, it's quite confusing. That plan's on record. We didn't want to put it on a record. I think John agreed with me on that. Town council felt better about it. It doesn't do anything, just puts a plan on record. Doesn't change ownership, but we put it on a record. And now, to John's point, it won't convey until we do the deed, and that's what we're going to do. But we all agreed the way to do it was when all the permits come together.
So can I ask my client a question? I'll ask it out loud so you can hear. So would you be amenable to a condition that says they will vote to approve the order of conditions, but they will not issue the order of conditions to you until the two lots are combined?
Thank you, John.
So they're gonna say, we're all set, we voted, we closed the hearing, we voted, you're approved. They'll even sign them, stamp them, whatever, but they're gonna hold on to them.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. I'm just thinking, will that hold up a building? Because a builder can't buy that until he can get a permit.
And then also, after a meeting is closed, the commission can't accept any new information. So
That's a
I'm not.
problem, because then you'd have to reapply.
But the builder needs the lot to be one lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Right.
So he gets a-
I don't know the exact word, how it would exactly be worded, but I know there have been situations like this, where commissions were able to condition it in a way that, when the properties were combined, the order of conditions would make its way to the correct deed.
Right.
And that's something I can research before the next meeting.
I would think that's, if that's a legal way to do it, I think it is. I think you can just put in a condition that you're gonna hold the order of conditions. You can even sign them, but you're gonna hold them. The town's gonna hold them until those lots are combined in one deed to make one lot, because the builder can't
Yeah,
get, a
that's
builder
fine.
can't get a
That's
building
fine.
permit anyway if it's two lots. It
That's
has to
fine.
be in one name.
That's fine.
Although, and then.
What you
if it-
suggested?
No, but it seems very reasonable. I think that sounds like a reasonable thing, too. I mean, the orders are issued, he just doesn't have them until we're satisfied with certain contingencies.
Well, if I can get a copy of them for other purposes, because when I'm working with a builder developer prior to that, that's all, just for a copy, not to record, so I can't record the copy, that's all.
Believe me,
Can we
you're
put
not
on
at
it,
any
Jim?
risk.
It's not a legal document.
I mean, just give me a copy, I can't record it, so it doesn't matter, but I can't do anything with it other than read it. That's all I'm asking for.
The only advantage for all of it, for them to have the conditions, would be that it's kind of a catch-22 here, because we want you to have all the conditions so that they're all put on the plans.
Right.
So that we don't lose the fact, and we continue this with exactly what we're talking about today, which is, the dewatering and everything else that needs to be done is on the plans like we've already talked about and agreed to.
Right.
So that's the big thing. And the problem is, we can always continue things we could continue it for as long as we wanted to. The problem is until your order runs out to approve it. But what we don't want to do is close the hearing or color something like that where you're then forced to get another DEP and then start the whole process again.
Yeah, all I'm asking for is a copy. I mean, if I was going to appeal my own decision, right, I'd want to at least read it. That's all I'm asking for is a copy. I'm not asking for an original.
So
I'm not asking for anything recorded. I just want to have a copy of it.
We're not asking you to close.
So assuming that, obviously, there's a few plan revisions that need to take place, but based on everything that's been discussed tonight and, additional research into how, the conveyance of the deed would work, I, can prepare a draft order of conditions that we can discuss at the next meeting.
That seems fair. So then we'll
I
look
don't
at
feel
that.
comfortable approving anything tonight.
Maybe you think about it.
No, we're not asking
No,
you
that's
to
fine.
prove anything
Yeah.
tonight.
We don't
I'm
have
just
to-
trying to give you some tools, right, so that you guys are protected and that my client can get what he wants in the end. And we do recognize that it's a little complicated. It has to do with a lot of zoning stuff and grandfathered and exemptions and all of this stuff. So my client has to be careful not to just sort of throw everything away and then make all these deeds and everything and then find out he ends up with nothing, that's all. And so we're not trying to lay all of this on you, but we're trying to make sure that you guys are protected. So you're not doing anything where somebody comes back and says, aha, I'm going to build another house now on that lot 78A.
So that's where we're at, I believe.
We just want to have the tools so that
Yeah.
our agent can go out and do her job fully.
Yeah.
And then based on what we really don't know what we're going to find, but she, in this area, she's already determined she needs to be out there to have a pre-meeting and to make sure that everything's
Yeah, all of those
laid out
things.
according to the plan and,
Yeah.
because she's not going to be there 24/7 watching what you're doing, but she will drive by to make sure that during the course of the project that, things look like they're supposed to look.
Yeah, and like I said, Mr. Chairman, I have no problem with any member of the board or with your agent calling me and say, John, the builder just called me and said, the erosion control is all staked out. Do you have it all staked out? Because, I don't, you know what I mean? And that's fine. And so, yes, we did it. No, we didn't do it. We're half done or whatever. Or the builder called and said the erosion control is all in. Is it all in, John, before I waste my time and drive out there and, put it on me? That's fine. That's more than fair. I don't think the towns need to necessarily be expected to be everywhere in town watching every little every project, right? Let the engineers or others, hold the responsibility. And, I've worked in Norfolk a long time, and most people would find that I'm a very truthful guy and, try to make sure that, everything is done in accordance the way it should be done.
And like John said, I was not aware that they dewatered without the meeting. Because I don't own that parcel. I'm not a trustee of that. I was at one time. If I had known, it would have been a different
Yeah,
result.
but that's not your problem, sir.
No, but I'm just
That's-
letting you know
Yeah.
that.
We understand what you're saying.
The one you're working with, this is
Yep.
who I am, and you can, let's have John go back, add the dewatering plan, it may change. And let's have the note on there, that didn't do any good. But if it gets to be whoever develops that new one, I'll let them know that that's not going to happen without the board, the conservation agent on board, so.
But I'm still working there for the builder, so don't be shy about saying, John, go out there.
I'll call you later.
Well, don't be
That
shy with
guy's
me.
not doing what the order of conditions says, and don't be shy about that, because I'll go out there and tell the guy what it says and what's gonna happen if he or she does not follow the the order of conditions. That's not acceptable to me, and it shouldn't be acceptable to the commission at all. So,
Yeah, I'm not
No,
validating what he did or didn't do over there. He's a reputable builder. He's built over 200 homes, all high-end, mostly in the North Attleboro area. Every town has different, I'm not giving him an excuse, but he has a good reputation in those areas. I think he built the big red barn here in town on Route 1A and 115, and he's built one or two other homes in Norfolk. He's doing a lot of work here. The rules and regs here are quite extensive, and I don't think he ignored it. I think he missed it, because he's got a good reputation, but doesn't change what happened. But I'll let him know that tomorrow.
Okay. Do we have anybody else here that you look like you wanted to say something?
Oh, there you go.
Neil O'Hara, 10 Wampanoag. I'm right across the street from that property. It's pretty wet, as he mentioned. In the wintertime, they have to come down and push the ice off the street. If you go down there now, there's probably puddles sitting on the land. There's no running water, like he said, and actually where they're building the house now, there's puddles sitting there. And when this lot that they're building on now, is that whole lot now owned by that, whoever bought that land?
No.
So that's not owned, that's a separate owner too. Those were the 3 lots. So the guy that owns, so you don't own that land with the building?
No.
Okay, so is lot 78B still owned by you?
It's in a trust.
In the trust. So that lot hasn't been separated yet either.
It has been.
Well, so those 2 lots they're all, 78B is all one lot
I
now.
can't see the plan well, but I think, is it 78A and 77 that go together?
Right.
So 78B goes with the other piece.
That's a whole,
Correct.
that's joint.
Right,
That's all on one,
correct.
that's been straightened out at the
that's
registry.
the builder's lot.
Okay, and they had to go through that, with that lot, they should have known they had to do it with this lot.
So unfortunately, I understand what you're saying, which is why we had the discussion earlier about protecting the town and making sure that, also being honest with them as applicants of what we expect.
No, I understand,
So I can tell you, we're very nice now, and we've had people that have come before us, said, we're going to do this, and they haven't, and then there's fines, there's stop work orders, there's all of that we will do. So, but right now, in this preliminary thing,
Right.
Our job is to make sure, one, that the DEP number matches the lot that we're talking about.
Right.
And that we're following what wetland policies we can. And then one of it is the notes that we get from the DEP, which lately have been a lot more extensive than they used to be. So if they have issues with anything on the property, they're very good about letting us know that, these are the issues. So the other parts of, like zoning and planning, and, the issues they had with Board of Health, having perk, that's all up to them.
Right.
Our portion here is, I appreciate what you're saying, is make sure we have the right lot.
Right.
And that we follow anything that could possibly happen to the wetlands. And that's why we're talking about the dewatering and
Right,
the
right.
barriers and all of that.
No, I understand, they can build there, and there's ways to get around everything the right way and everything. I just want to make sure it's done the right way. And because that other house, the whole back of the house was underwater, and they just kept pumping the water out until they could get the foundation in. And then they just filled it in when they were done, when they got the foundation in. So I just want,
What you're talking about also is it's groundwater runoff
no,
that's coming from,
no, it's coming up.
it's coming up, but it also runs across the street. There's one house there that comes right out of the front lawn,
Oh, yes, right.
okay?
Right.
That is,
No, but this was up in the back.
yeah, no, I'm
Right.
talking in the front
Oh,
area, and that's
yeah, I
out
know
of
what you're
our,
talking about.
that's out of our
I've been there 27
jurisdiction.
years.
Yep.
I've seen it.
Runs out there,
And I
runs
still
down the
can't
road,
believe they're
freezes,
getting-
it's
they
a
got it to
mess.
perk.
Yep, so,
I mean, I'm good luck. I hope you do.
yep.
It's not my lot, I,
No, I know, no, I know.
and like I said, I.
But as long as
I know
they
the
do it right, I
developer,
don't have a problem,
Yep.
you know. I mean, it's my side yard, so it really doesn't bother me, but I just want to make sure.
Located, sir?
10 Wampanoag, right across the street. So, but as far as like they said, the water is the
That
kind of
house might
problem
be the one
over
I'm
there.
talking about, that comes right out of the front lawn.
Yeah, no, I'm on the corner of
Right on
Wampanoag and
the, okay,
Pennacook.
all right, you're the other side.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
But where it comes out front lawn, there's people had to shut their well down because of the water was so bad there. Yeah, so, that's all I got to say.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so
So where are we at, Jim? Continue this
now
here?
we're ready to just continue it to next month. We have 7:01, so we could do 7:05 PM
You all,
on the 23rd, was it 10:07? I mean, 11:08,
11/8.
whatever day it is. 11:08,
So
11:08 at 7:05 PM. I'm gonna
we
continue
have,
it. Are you all set, John?
Well, I was just going to sort of reiterate that, yes, didn't expect you to close the hearing.
Right.
Going to, work with Caitlin to update the plans to what you want, and then.
And I'm sure what we've done with you before is, if things aren't working to what we need, and you don't need to show up next month, if we need to continue it another month, if we're running into some issues.
Yeah.
So we're
And as I
more
said, as
than,
far as the ownership, my advice
Yeah.
would be to make the final condition is, we're going to vote these for approval, you might even sign them, but we're not going to release them until we're shown by deed at the registry file from the registry of deeds that this is one lot. So that protects you so that you're not, going to be, I know it's not going to happen.
maybe what we do is we prepare everything for next month, and we can talk about exactly how we're going to finish this.
yeah,
Give us
So
a
I
month
can-
to
I can
Yeah,
draft.
make sure exactly what our options are after they sign. If we sign them,
Yeah.
are they have to be released? Because I know once we vote to complete, we have 21 days
21
to
days.
sign.
There is a waiver for that, however, yeah. I don't know if the commission wants to be put in the position where, 6 months later, we still don't have this information, and now we kind of like have this hanging in
Keep
the balance.
continuing it every month.
So I think
So I think, yeah, like you said, I can work with you on what information I think is needed and have draft recommendations for special conditions that we can all discuss on November 8th.
like you said at the beginning, this is something we normally don't do, so
No,
we want to make sure we,
No,
because it's going to set, we can't have it done wrong here, and then the next applicant comes in and says, well, you did it on 9 Pennacook, why can't I do it at mine?
yeah.
And that will also approving work on a property where the property owner hasn't signed the notice of intent is
Well, I can get you,
a
I
major
can get you a
administrative
letter saying that,
issue.
Okay.
that she
Yeah,
would have,
there needs to be
had she
some
known.
sort of confirmation that the commission can,
Yeah.
So you can work on that with
Yeah, so
Caitlin,
things like
John,
that
over
we
the
Right,
next month.
right. No, I'll make sure that Caitlin has everything that she's asked for. And
Okay.
like I said, the requests are certainly reasonable. I can understand why you want, this documentation to be in your file. So we'll make sure that happens.
Okay,
All right, okay, great, thank you.
all right, thank you, John.
thank you.
All right, so so what I need is a motion to continue this notice of intent to
We don't have-
November 8th at 7:05
File
PM.
number, do we?
No, so it would have to be
We
continued.
don't have a file number anyway.
Yeah, there's a file number.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it got issued at like 6:40, and there were
today?
no
Okay,
comments
all
from DEP.
Yeah, 664.
came in
Yeah,
late in the game.
Yeah, 633?
664. 664.
No, that's 11 Pennacook.
So it was just issued today, like at,
644?
yeah. It was issued today around 5 o'clock or so by the DEP.
All right, if you want to do that, Adam?
Make the motion?
Yeah.
I move we continue 9 Pennacook Street, DEP file number 240-0664 until November 8th at 7:05 PM.
Do I have a second?
Bellstone, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
members of the
John.
board.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, 5 Lakeshore Drive. Do you want me to read this first? Or do we want to open the meeting first?
We can,
Read.
doesn't hurt to open the meeting first. Or,
I don't think about it.
no, reading that isn't a requirement, so,
Okay.
but opening the hearing is, so I
This is
think it
another
makes
one,
sense to open
Caitlin,
it up.
No DEP number yet?
No DEP number.
I'll make a motion to open up 5 Lakeshore Drive. Notice of intent, no DEP file number yet.
Have a second?
Adam Zucker, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. In accordance with, make sure I got the right one. In accordance with provisions MGL-C 131S40 and the Town of Norfolk Wetlands Protection Bylaw and the regulations thereto, Norfolk Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing in room 124, Norfolk Municipal Building, on October 11th, 2023 at 7:15 PM to consider a notice of intent filed for John Beveridge for the construction of a single-family home and associated site improvements, including sewage disposal system. The proposed work is within the 50 and 100-foot buffer to the floodplain. Once proposed driveway is completed, the existing driveway will be removed and converted to lawn. Property is located at 5 Lakeshore Drive, Norfolk, Mass. Assessor Map 5, Block 28, Lot 9. Applicable materials are available for public inspection at the Conservation Commission office, regular hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Do you want to explain the project?
We have Dave here. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I think I got green lights on.
Good, thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dave Terrian. I'm the representative for the beverages. They weren't able to make it tonight. I'm the applicant's representative, and what they're proposing to do is to do a septic system upgrade, a addition on the west side of the house, and a new driveway. The work for the septic system is in the part of it's in the 200-foot riverfront area and floodplain. The balance of the work is within the town of Norfolk's 100-foot buffer. So, the intention is to do the site work, and the septic system would be replacing the existing with a new tank. The old leach field will be just left in place and covered because it's going to be a raised system. They'll do a retaining wall along the north side of the system, and then do the mitigation for flood storage to the north between the street and the retaining wall. The town of Norfolk has a buffer to, I believe it's a floodplain, but not riverfront. Is that correct, or have I got it backwards?
So that was correct. Yeah, there is a 100-foot buffer zone off of the 100-year floodplain
Okay.
elevation boundary.
And those lines are shown on the plan. Guess I'll leave it open to questions for that.
So, as Al stated earlier, DP hasn't issued a file number yet. Some feedback the commission did receive was from the DPW regarding the new curb cut that would be associated with the proposed driveway. They had some concerns about stormwater runoff, as evidently from what they've experienced, water flows in that direction currently, and providing a curb cut might give it it would lead to channelization. I don't know, did you have a chance to look at those comments they sent over?
I got the ones you forwarded to me, or were forwarded to me, and the slab elevation for the addition is higher than the road. And I haven't talked to the landowner, but it appears to me that they could do a like a speed bump or a berm at the end of the driveway to redirect the water down and then back out. So I think from an engineering standpoint, it's not going to be a problem. It doesn't look like there would be enough to come back up into the addition. So that would be the major issue. I think the other issue was they didn't have a problem with the line of sight, but they did mention it. And looking at the existing driveway, it's not too much different. They're on a curb right now, anyways. Yeah.
And thinking about leaving the berm like they said, and you obviously haven't had a chance to speak with the property owner, but potentially could a trench drain at either end help with controlling volume or direction of flow.
I suspect what happens right now is there's a berm all the way along the property that goes along the edge of the road. It just directs the flow of water down. If you cut the curb, then it's going to come into the property. But by grading the end of the driveway so that it just directs the flow back out onto the street, I think that, like I say, I think from an engineering standpoint, it's not going to be a real major problem.
So, based on DPW's recommendation, runoff from the additional impervious area that's being proposed, that would end up flowing onto the roadway?
That would ultimately be what happened. It flows that way right now.
Okay. From the perspective of the Wetlands Protection Act and local wetlands bylaw, and also the floodplain bylaw, some additional engineering might be a better option, instead of kind of just redirecting flow, especially considering we're adding impervious area here into the roadway where it becomes an issue to abutters and to the town. Maybe potentially, controlling runoff on the site or directing it to the compensatory flood storage area, which is already like a natural low point in that corner.
Right. We're going to have to do a continuation anyways, so it'll give me a little more time to talk about the engineer and the landowner. But I'm a civil engineer. There's wetlands, and to me, it looks like it's not a problem that the landowner would say it's not going to work.
Right, and I'm not an engineer, but I know that there are, numerous solutions that can be devised to, contain and capture that without, causing, a potentially worse situation in the roadway, the right-of-way, or abutting properties, so.
The existing driveway flows out onto the road, or slopes out onto the road, so that impervious area would become lawn, so it's on a steeper part of the road, but it's not a total 100% addition to an impervious area.
Are there storm drains down in that area?
No,
Okay.
not many.
No, it appears to be all just contained.
I'm
with
trying to
the- with the
picture where
berms.
this piece of property is located. Is it right on the corner?
It's right on
Where
the
it just
corner.
starts, on the right-hand side?
On the inside
On
of
the pond
bend.
side?
No, it's
Or is it on the
It's
inside?
on the
It's
inside.
on the inside.
Inside of-
Yellow house? There's a camper there, is that the one I'm thinking, right on the corner?
I've only been out there once, and I don't recall.
Okay, I'm just trying to picture where, because there's several right there on
Blanking on the
it.
color, but I don't remember
Yeah.
seeing the
See, 'cause
camper.
one of the issues of increasing water flow on the street is that there's a huge guidance now with DPW about regulating the pH of the water going into the storm drain systems. And the last thing we want to do is increase any water, especially,
That and
foliage.
freezing in the wintertime with plowing on that
yeah.
stretch, it's a lot of pine trees there, so there's no sun that hits the road that much. I'm sure that's what the DPW is looking at there. The comments they gave you, what did they recommend to be done? A berm
Yeah, they recommended a berm,
to keep
where
the water
instead of
directed?
doing a curb cut,
A berm driveway to keep the water on the road that's there already.
Right, to keep the street flow from coming back onto the
The
property.
driveway right now, is it paved or is it gravel?
The existing one's paved.
And you're going to gravel or you're going to still
They're
pave?
going to make, the existing one will go to, the one that to be removed will go to lawn, it'd be grassed, and the new one will be paved.
Okay.
Oh. That's the property there.
I'm drawing a blank on it, but
Here you go.
we'll get another month. Yeah, okay, so it's the one I'm thinking of. Yep.
That's the house that,
Yeah, the road at the three sides of the property are actually bounded on the road.
Yeah,
It's right on the corner.
yep.
so it looks like there'd be more water going,
That's a steep hill on the
yeah. Oh, yeah.
down gradient hill coming down.
Okay, so,
Well, it also depends upon, first of all, that drive is, if it's going to be further towards the bend, it's going to be on a more of a slope, there'll be more runoff, depending on the square footage of the driveway, we'll need to consider whether it's going to be more accumulation. It looks like the current drive, most of it just might not even run off towards the road.
Yeah, it goes into the grass in the front
Yeah.
yard.
Could we require that it's like a permeable paver instead of pavement?
yeah, people have used that. The only problem with the permeable stuff is the maintenance. They have to,
Yeah.
you have to vacuum it or clean it. Otherwise, it becomes non-permeable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it depends on the foliage in the area. Because I've had some people that have known they've put in it on this driveway, and it's just become really costly
Okay.
to keep up with it, although they do it so that in areas that are close to water bodies where they have an actual percentage of permeable soils that they have to have, they use that because it's the only way they would have been able to build they put an addition on their home. When you go from non-permeable, they rip up the driveway, make it permeable, and that gives them the footage to add to their home. So,
Well, I think, Jim, that we don't have a DEP number, so by moving it till next month gives Caitlin more time to get the things figured out.
So-
We can, yeah,
I'll talk with the landowner and the engineer and see if there's other options to reduce runoff. I'm not sure if they're proposing catch gutters with dry wells or some type of, so.
yeah, that would definitely help. Or, you know, pervious pavement, although that has its challenges. You know, you could even go back to good old, you know, country drainage where you
Swales.
just have a swale with, you know, crushed
Right.
stone,
That's what they're doing out there now. They just did that on
which
that new
actually works
development.
Yeah.
really well. So,
Okay, well, we can go back and look at the
Yeah,
options on that.
definitely.
But as I see it right now, the two issues is to don't add any more water to the street and keep the street water from coming into the driveway. Seems to be the two issues.
so, yeah, I don't have
Alright,
anything
so-
else to add at this time.
we'll just continue it to 11/8. Do like, Pennacook's going to take a little bit, so we go 7:15. Or do you want to do 7:10? We have 7:01, 7:05,
7:10.
I think 7:10,
7:10.
better to,
Run
Yeah, because if somebody doesn't
over
show up,
there,
then,
not have, sit and wait.
I can see the continuation.
Sorry, I'm gonna have a cigarette. I'll be right back.
yeah,
although,
yeah, because
if
we've
someone
done
did
them.
come in with some stand-up comedy, I would
Yeah,
hate
go-
that.
Yeah, one time we used to do them 15 minutes apart, then we had two continuing, sitting here for 30 minutes.
Yeah. That's-
I've been to towns where they publish them all at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I went to one, I was number 11.
Yeah. Well, when we have a bunch like that, we put them at 7:01, 7:02, 7:03,
Yeah.
7:04, because we know we're going to have to continue them all. So. Okay, so why don't we do 11:08, 7:10? I just need a motion.
Yeah.
Al Finney, so moved. Make a motion to move 5 Lakeshore Drive to 7:10 on 11/8.
Second?
Fallstone, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you for your time.
All right,
Thank you.
Yep.
And I'll
See you
get
next
back
month.
to you.
Okay, yeah, be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Man, this is-
all right. 111 Dedham
A
Street?
lot later.
No, yeah, we're moving, but not, seems like not slowly.
All right, so, we read this
Maybe bring up the.
notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with MGL E131S40 and the Town of Norfolk Wetland Protection Bylaw. And the regulations thereto, the Norfolk Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing at the Norfolk Town Hall, room 124, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. On October 11th, 2023 at 7:20 PM to consider a request for a determination of applicability for the removal of brush to access several boring locations necessary to identify the bounds of the on-site waste disposal area and the installation of monitoring wells to test groundwater within the 100-foot buffer zone. There is no proposed activity within the 50-foot no disturb zone. Property is located at 111 Dedham Street, map 26, block 80, lots 3-1, 9-1. Applicable application materials are available at the Conservation Commission's office during regular office hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, so now I need a motion to open the public hearing for 111 Dedham Street.
I also want to make a motion to open the public hearing for 111 Dedham Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, Caitlin? Proceed.
So we have Bill Buckley here. I don't know if you want to just give a brief synopsis?
Sure, I'd be happy to give just an overview and open by saying, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Agent Nover, Administrative Assistant Strug, thank you for having us here tonight. We've been to many meetings in Norfolk, and this is our first time in front of the conservation. This is probably the first of what will be several visits in front of you over the years as we take this site from a testing and assessment phase through a cleanup phase and onto development. So we expect to be in front of you several times over the years. 111 Dedham Street, and let me add that I'm here tonight with Robert Bird, who is our licensed site professional, who's overseeing all the cleanup work on the site. Mr. Bird is with SLR Consulting Group. 111 Dedham Street is a Mass DEP Tier 1 classified site with a long-standing RTN assigned to the site, release tracking number. You may be aware, and although I don't intend to get into specifics on this tonight, but you may be aware that for generations this was a state hospital. And needless to say, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts was not the best steward of this site. Right? There are several areas of concern that we need to investigate. Definitely areas that are going to need to be cleaned up, and we're in the process of putting that plan together. As part of that plan, and part of what we've been working on since we took ownership of the site, we've owned the site a little over 2 years now. And one of the first actions that we needed to take was the creation of a Phase 2 scope of work for a kind of an in-depth site assessment. And that's a Phase 2 scope of work that was actually approved by DEP. And we're now in the process of implementing that Phase 2 scope of work. Some of the things that we need to do in there is the installation of monitoring wells at various kind of strategic locations throughout the site. And I'll also say in the end, we also need to take some soil borings to understand, the depth and the quantity of materials, primarily in the area of the former waste disposal site. Right. So when this operated as a state hospital, there was an on-site waste disposal that accumulated over the years. So in those areas, so the soil borings are identified in the green dots on the plan. And many of them, there are some monitoring well locations that aren't necessarily shown on this plan, but aren't anywhere near resource areas, so they're kind of outside of this picture here. But so it's approximately 11 soil borings and I think 12 or 13 monitoring well locations that we need to install. In this plan, you can see that some of those locations, and we've been strategic to stay out of the 50-foot buffer zone in identifying these locations, at least for this first round of testing. But some of these locations are within jurisdictional areas of the commission. So in talking with we had an opportunity to come in and present this plan to Caitlin. It was suggested to us that we actually formally file a request for determination in front of the Conservation Commission. And we're here tonight with that request, and I believe we're seeking, I always get this messed up, I believe we're seeking a negative determination so that we can move forward with this work without the filing of a notice of intent. And as I mentioned, I think that we're going to have, not only, we will likely have to file notice, not likely, we will definitely be filing notice of intent for future phases of work, right? As you can see on this plan, so that's the landfill, and although the grading is not shown on this sketch, there is a plan that you have there that shows grading. The landfill area is identified with the X's, and as I call it landfill, it's a waste disposal area, and you can see where the soil this analysis. And on the other side of the stream, and you can see some of the rectangles and squares that are shown right where the cursor is there. That is the old and now abandoned wastewater treatment system, right? It was an on-site, it's not a septic system, it was a kind of a septic field of, and it was, I've never seen it before, but I think it's been, prevalent in a lot of these older, larger properties where the wastewater would actually filter over land into these filter beds, right? So there's, we need to do some analysis of the soils in that filter beds and in the groundwater, and that's where you see those groundwater monitoring wells installed. There's also a couple that are outside jurisdictional areas, another that's across the street, closer to what was the original well for the 111 Dedham Street property over on, I think we're going to be taking them within the right-of-way, but right on the edge of the property line. So,
one question I have right off the bat is, just as you described would be what someone would use to try to get a lot of moisture off the ground into a river body and into the wetland areas. And my question is, at what point are we going to be going in the wetlands to actually test the soils there to see exactly what's going on with them?
Yeah. Not any time in the
So that may be
near future. That may be a separate phase of the work.
based on what you're getting out of these wells?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. And
now, what about surface water testing in the wetland areas?
yeah, so there's there's a whole ecological risk assessment that's part of our phase 2 scope of work that we'll be providing additional work that's required to be submitted to DEP, right? So for this initial phase of work, we're really only talking about the borings and the monitoring wells, right? In both cases, we can stay out of the 50-foot buffer zone. Access to the waste disposal area would be from the parking lot. Again, we will be able to stay outside of any 50-foot disturb zone. We'll access that the waste disposal area from the parking lot. And then on the other side of the stream, and Caitlin and I actually had a chance to walk this on our site visit, there's a 8 to 10 foot wide paved access from the rear of the building. It's paved access down to those wastewater treatment beds, right? So we believe that we can access all of these, the boring locations as well as the well locations with minimal clearance, minimal disturbance to even the soils that are there because of this existing paved access. We'll be using track-mounted drills that will be coming in off the paved area, diagonal into the soil to the monitoring well locations for installation. And we see this as really minor activities as part of this first phase of work as we gather data that will kind of formulate either the next round of assessment or actually formulate what our cleanup plans are to be submitted to DEP and actually to implement to bring the site to a level of to a cleanup level and to a level that's ready for redevelopment, which is our goal. Leave anything out? And I think so we're showing the vast majority of the locations and primarily with this where the stream is, right? So there's a stream splitting these two areas of concern. That stream was relocated and a submittal to the Conservation Commission either the 80s or the 90s, right? That was where there was work done to fence in that waste disposal area and to provide kind of a partial cap over that. Around that time, this stream was relocated to its current location. So as we saw out there, it's really in a defined channel, right? And the kind of the edges of the resource area are easily identifiable. And and because of the grading of both the wastewater treatment system and the waste disposal area, we're confident that we won't be getting anywhere near that resource area, at least in this phase of of
So the-
assessment.
The waterway actually went closer towards where they were storing hazardous waste? Or did they,
Well, they're not necessarily storing hazardous waste, right? This was a waste disposal area, not necessarily hazardous waste. We have to test it now to verify it wasn't hazardous waste. But it was, just your typical trash and garbage.
On-site dump.
On-site dump, basically, that they left for us.
okay.
So actually, I can't recall the configuration of the stream before it was rechannelized. I think the plan is part of this submittal said, do you know where, did it used to flow through the leaching beds?
That's
The-
long.
Either way. So
The
yeah,
reason I'm
it
asking
is
is we may
a main-
have, we may have a wetland area where we have water under, under 1 or 2 inches of soil that's flowing, as opposed to above ground. That's my only question as to when we're drilling these holes, are we actually more than 50 feet apart, or are we actually closer because the channel was moved? And at one point, that was closer.
So if it
And-
was moved back in the 80s, at this point, and actually there would have been noticed, if there had been impacts to wetlands, there likely would have been noticeable areas where, there was a large area of, like, vegetative die-off because, the groundwater table either rose or dropped. I didn't note anything like that. And then at this point, it was an approved project by the commission. So if any wetland boundaries did change as a result of this, then, that's just, just a result of the work.
Well, I'm sure there's no record of what it was back then. Probably.
Yeah, I can tell you, what we do know is that the wastewater treatment beds have been in place since, I think since the start of the operation. They've been in place probably since the 20s or 30s.
Are they weeded?
right?
Are they completely overgrown with weeds, or are they dry? Beds.
They're dry, but you can see the undulations, you can kind of.
Because I'm sure they're just like sand
Oh, what
drying
they are.
beds. They just put the sludge on it, and what happens is it turned into potato chips, and they peel that off. Because I've ran those back in the day.
Okay, yeah, so that's what it.
So that's why I'm asking.
That's what it
Usually you
looks
get cat tails growing in.
There's no
them.
wetlands there.
Nothing's
There's no
in there.
wetlands. It's all weeded.
all
and It's
weeded.
all pretty dry ground. Not pretty dry ground, high dry ground. And, the actual stream from those wastewater treatment beds is probably 20 or 30 feet below grade from where the wastewater
Yeah.
treatment beds are,
Yeah.
right? And also, and similarly to the top of the waste disposal area. That stream is another 20 or 30 foot. So if we looked at the grading plan, that's a very steep slope along both the wastewater treatment beds and the waste disposal area as to when I talk about a defined channel through those two areas of concern. So, we're excited to be taking this next phase of the work, right? This is, and it's at great expense that we're, providing some of this assessment and analysis of the site, and, we're hopeful and we're confident that we're going to be able to, to continue to bring a plan forth that will result in the cleanup of the site, which is a major priority for us and for the town, and offer a redevelopment plan that we think is a benefit to everyone involved. Sorry, it's my wife.
All right. Is there anyone else here that wants to speak? No? Okay. Any questions from the commission?
I have a ton, but not now.
Okay.
I'm just glad to see that hopefully the site will get cleaned up.
And
That's
Caitlin, it's pretty straightforward, you think?
Yeah, so best management practices are already required for work like this under the MCP, the contingency plan. So I don't have any concerns about potential impacts, during the installation of the wells and during the boring events.
Drilled wells or point? Gonna be drilled?
Drilled.
Drilled.
Yeah. We're actually talking to a Norfolk company, hopefully, to get some pricing out of them, to see if they'd be interested in working just around the corner.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Yeah, yeah. So we reached out, would love to be able to work with them if we can make the numbers work.
And as Bill was saying, we did walk that like 8 to 10 foot wide paved path. There were a couple of trees that were down over the path, and then just general vegetation that had was growing in that probably will need to be definitely will need to be cut so equipment can get back there. We discussed on the site, if the commission was going to issue a negative determination, including a condition where any of that brush material be stored outside of any jurisdictional areas. Which, there's
Plenty of room.
plenty of parking, empty parking lot where that can be stored. That's far away from any wetlands or jurisdictional areas. So, and that was it for the comments on my end.
And I guess our only other request would be that if we identify some other areas that we'd like to install a well or a boring area, or a boring, that might not be specifically shown on this plan, but is within the buffer zone, right? Clearly not within the 50-foot disturbed zone and not within the resource area, but is still in the buffer zone. If, and Caitlin and I talked briefly about this, if that's something that could be handled administratively as part of this RDA, rather than having to come back to the commission. Now that's specifically for, this type of work that's being reviewed now, and it can only be done in the buffer zone, not in the no disturb
So it's
area.
possible when you do your core samples, they're tested right away, and then you may need to redesign where you have the wells?
We'd like to take another one 10 feet over here. Right?
Yeah,
It's,
very understandable.
Yeah. So
I think just a phone call to Caitlin, I think, that good, or?
Yeah, so this figure, the scale is approximate, the locations shown are approximate. From my, little experience with hazmat remediation projects, a lot of times you get in the field and, the exact location shown on the plan, it doesn't work out for whatever reason, and it might be 5 feet this way, 10 feet this way, and I think as long as notification is given, and, it's not within, wetland resource area or in an area where, there's a chance of, issues, like if it was on a really steep slope or something like that. But I think that, that would be fine.
Yeah, we've ran into that ledge or boulders. You gotta move over a little bit.
Yeah. No, the last thing we want to do is cause anything to tie your hands on to finding out exactly what you need to find is there. Our job's to protect the wetlands, but also, here's a little bit of common sense and make sure that, because there is water. And that's part of protecting, to make sure that, the hazardous materials don't move into our aquifer, much as possible. So if that means having to drill some extra wells after you have some soil samples, then that's what you have to do. That's my opinion anyway. The rest of you can, obviously have your own opinion if you feel anything different. But
No, I'm with you.
no, we've had this in another project where, we made sure that they were in their PIP phase and doing the wells, and want to make sure that, that's the same thing ran into. You don't know till you start digging, and they found some odd colored soils when they were digging, so they knew dig a little bit more, take some more soil samples to try to get to the edge of, where they needed to build a well or how bad it was, or, you don't really know what was done where 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
So,
Do we need a motion?
yep, so right now, the next two steps would be to close the hearing and then to issue -3 determination. So those are the next two things. So if we're ready, we don't have any other questions, and
And there's
We're
no
good.
one on, or there are a couple of people on Zoom.
Yep,
Doesn't appear they're
they don't have any questions.
just listening in, so.
okay. So I need a motion to close the hearing.
Adam Zucker, so moved.
Second?
Al Fanning, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is closed. All right, now I need a motion to issue a -3 determination for 111 Dedham Street.
And then if the commission wanted to consider that recommendation about the brush
Oh, okay.
storage as a condition of a -3.
Say that again, Caitlin?
So something happened here, my notes got screwed up, but after viewing the site in the field and recognizing that they were gonna have to remove some trees that had fallen across the path and just clear back some brush along the edges, I would just recommend that any of that brush that gets removed be stored outside of any jurisdictional areas.
Okay. I'll make a motion to issue a -3 determination and to make sure any brush that is removed be stored outside of the wetlands
Or
buffer zone, jurisdictional area for 111 Dedham Street.
Also, and I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And it passes.
Okay. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
so if you have, just the main thing is, this is obviously the start of a long project with us.
Yep.
Whenever you have any issues, just as long as you contact Caitlin, she's more than willing to come out or guide this, if we need to change any plans, if things need to be opened, or,
Yep.
whatever you need, we're here to, help you along with this.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that, and our experience working with, with Caitlin and with other departments in the town has been really positive to date. And we're excited to be taking some next steps, and we've tried to work closely with the neighborhood group out there as well. There's a dedicated PIP group that we try to keep informed.
It sure is.
We work hard to keep them informed and up to date with what our plans are. Right. So,
Right.
good. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Next is, we are done with our public hearings, and we have action items. 7 Diamond Street. There's a request for a certificate of compliance. Caitlin?
Right, and I don't believe anyone's here for that. This was a really simple septic upgrade. The commission issued the order for this in December of last year, so not too long ago. The site is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Diamond Street area, but Stony Brook runs through there and actually right along the edge of this property. So there were impacts to the outer 50 to 100 foot buffer zone as well as riverfront area. And yeah, so I did a site visit in September just to confirm the existing conditions. We did receive an as-built plan that was completed following the construction of the updated septic. And based on what I saw on the site, the project was completed in substantial compliance with the approved work that was shown on the plan of record. The site was stable, the grass was growing in, and all in all, everything was constructed in great condition. So with that, I recommend the commission issue a full COC for DEP file number 240-655, and there are no continuing conditions associated with that.
Any discussion? Good. Okay, so, don't need, there was not a hearing, so the only thing we need to do is vote on the full certificate of compliance.
Right, yep, so just vote to issue.
All right, so I just need someone to make a motion for a full certificate of compliance for DEP file 240-0655, which is 7 Dedham Street.
Diamond Street.
Oh, what did I say?
Got him.
Oh, Diamond Street, yeah. At the right street.
Valstone, I motion to issue a full COC for 7 Diamond Street, DP file number 240-0655.
Second?
Adam Zucker, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It passes. Okay.
And so the next 4 items, all associated with 15 Lincoln Road. In speaking with Next Grid Solar, who met with planning board last night, actually, I had initially thought they would have all the application materials in to get their full COC for conservation. However, it didn't work out that they were able to get all that information in time. The 3 orders related to call and wait auto, just to give a quick update. So the order of conditions that was issued for the solar project included a special condition requiring that they apply for and receive COCs for the open orders on that site. And so it's like most likely all of that will be submitted for November 8th. And since these aren't public hearings, no vote needs to take place. Just a statement that, these items are going to be pushed to the November 8th
So we just
agenda.
save this for next month?
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't need to do anything, right?
I have a question, Jim. I have a question. Is this the solar panel field that got put in where the old dump body?
Yeah, call and wait autos.
Whatever happened with the situation where the runoff went into the wetlands, and did that ever get?
It did eventually get there. My last site inspection that I conducted, they actually used transit seeding.
Yeah, okay.
Who went out there and they put
Hydro-seeded.
down the soil membranes and then hydro-seeded. And I went out a few days later after a heavy rainstorm just to make sure that, there wasn't runoff and that, potentially washed away the seed. Found that that wasn't taking place. And actually the back slope that was seeded with the wildflower mix a year and a half ago now at this point. Actually was doing really good. Sometimes with those type of seed mixes, like the ryegrass will just dominate, but there was a large variety of wildflowers. It looked great. So definitely.
It sounds like you're satisfied with the final result of that. All right, I'm good then. I just wanted to ask where it ended up.
And I can go into into a little more depth on that and, provide some pictures.
No, as long as you're satisfied, well, I'm good. I just was wondering if it was taken care of, so we're good.
Okay,
Right.
so we'll hold off till next month on those.
Yep.
Very good. Okay, next is vote to accept the minutes for the August 2nd meeting with some formatting changes. I just need,
So were those not, I thought the draft minutes had been uploaded. My apologies on that. I
want
thought.
to wait on those also?
Yeah.
Till everybody gets to view them?
Yeah, we were kind of going back and forth on those.
Okay,
With the
so
change in-
wait, we'll wait on the minutes also.
So then, and then in addition to that, I can add an item, so it can be discussed, who would be responsible for signing those going forward.
Yeah, we should, yeah.
Or it could be,
Who writes, I just have a question, who writes the minutes? The person that,
we'll type
so
some
it's
up.
just a matter of a
um,
secretary having a secretary that just signs the minutes?
Yeah, you're not going to be making the minutes.
That's-
You just,
Okay.
you're the person that, at the end of it, if something
Finish.
needs to be signed, you're the one who you sign the minutes for
We just signed
for
it.
that,
Although
but-
I have seen, commissions where just everyone signs them, and then
There are
that's,
some commissions that they write them to.
That's why my question was asked.
I know you're going to be writing them.
No.
That's a tough one.
I would be glad to sign them if we need a representative to do that. And I don't live too far away, so I
And
can,
you're a good proofer too, so that would be good. Is that legal?
yeah, like,
yeah.
my preference is about 70
Yeah,
70 proof.
it's all good. 70 or 80 proof is all good. I'm short distance too, but if you want to take that on,
All right.
okay.
Let's vote on that.
Oh, so,
Let's vote to make him the clerk.
I'd like to make a motion that, I can't make a motion, but I'd like someone to make a motion that we nominate Adam as our secretary.
Clerk.
although
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure it's not necessary to have it be on the agenda. I think waiting and including that as an agenda item is always, the safe bet is always,
Just put it on there for next meeting and
Yeah.
we'll vote you in then, Adam. You're not going to feel bad, will you?
I'm not going to change my mind. That's it.
Okay, we're
Just
good
right in there, we will
We'll
vote
see you next
Adam
month.
next month.
Next month.
Yep.
Okay, we're good. Leach A report. Oh, really?
that was a great read.
We'll make
Yes.
Alan a special assistant to the president.
Yes. Sure. Hey.
And then, Water and Wetlands conducted the survey of the 4 ponds. I know Al's a little bit caught up on this, being the CPC rep. If you're interested, I can give a, quick synopsis of the results.
Yeah.
Good results.
So, Kingsbury Pond was found to essentially have a clean bill of health. No invasives were found. It had, a good dissolved oxygen content, good pH range. Just generally was a healthy water body. And similar, not to the same extent, Populatic was also found to be in generally good health. There was some water chestnut and was it blue strife or milfoil, another invasive that were not found in the pond, but were found in the stream where the pond outlets into the Charles River. And so one of the recommendations that came out of that survey was just to do some hand pulling and then just monitor the situation. in case they do start migrating into the pond. Comey's Pond was not super great. Had a lot of issues with invasives. Also, overgrowth of native plants, cattails have kind of taken over a significant portion of the pond. I believe Al brought it up at several meetings about this, pond on Main Street. And I never knew what he was talking about. I always,
Mud pond.
because
You wouldn't
I
know
would
it's a
drive
pond.
by it and I always thought it was just, a seasonal pool. And turns out it's actually a pond with a surface area of 1.2 acres, but you would never know that looking at it. And so a pretty intense treatment protocol was recommended for that, which the CPC voted to adopt, and I believe the advisory committee has also voted to support. That'll be on the upcoming fall town meeting. And then the last pond, Bush Pond, was found to contain quite a few invasive plants. Although it's a kind of a different situation since the town owns only half of the water body. The other half is privately owned. It's part of the Buckley Man property. And actually the privately owned portion contained the most invasive vegetation out of either water body. And even though the flow of the water system, it flows from the town-owned portion to the privately owned portion in northward, I guess that really doesn't matter. The fact that there's, milfoil and these invasives in the privately owned part, they're just going to go right over to the town-owned portion. So ultimately, treatment of that was tabled for the time being.
Big concern on that was we treat our side and a lot of treatment would go right over to Buckley Man because the flow goes
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
So it would make no sense to treat half and most of it go over there and kind of waste of money at this
Yeah.
time.
What concerns me mainly there is the soil leachate that's coming through the banks from the years of
It could
pollution.
be. I've been on that property and the Buckley Man property does have, they had, I want to call them leaching beds where they're a distance away from the pond, but still that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, because they had,
Although the pond
So
is,
remember in
when
the-
I've been back there, I mean, supports a lot of turtles, seem to be doing good, so.
The beavers did a great job of taking care of them.
Well, we won't go there. They've been handled.
I had a nerve.
They have been handled at this point.
no, because they had the carbonizer, where the carbonizer pit was basically, they would take the wool suits, put them in an acid bath to dissolve the wool, and the buttons would fall to the bottom. Then they take that, put it in a lye bath to equalize out the acid, and they take that and they put it in the carbonizer pit. During the first PIP, the people that originally started analyzing the soils and stuff said the reason they didn't test anything around the carbonizer plant and the pit was because they said we weren't going to build there. That's why we didn't test. Well, they didn't test because they knew what they were going to
Yeah,
find.
the radioactive
So-
stuff is still in
Yeah,
there.
and the person that presented for the company that's no longer employed said there were two things. One, the people doing the testing are not from the state. They're licensed by the state, and they're expected to be professional. And then the report that they present to the state for the testing is then approved by the state. But no one from the state actually goes out and does testing. So these guys who did the testing tested for nothing that was actually used by the plant. So all the leachate, all the chemicals, nothing was ever tested. So this company said, we've got to do the wells. It's this exact same thing they're doing on 111.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole thing, then it just started, and then
Fit it out.
it just, I think they realized the extent of the pollution there, because at one point, where there's a plant, there was actually a water wheel and they closed it up. So God only knows what's underneath that.
Yeah.
So, but they used surface pits
Yes.
to drain. But as we found out, that area is high in sand. So of course, that's where you want to have a pit, because then you throw all your water in the pit and it just drains into
Yeah.
the soil.
Yeah.
And
We had development at the top of the hill going in, Tommy DePlasso was putting in, and you would not believe the sand. There's some ledge there, but the sand is amazing, how much sand is there. He's just got beautiful digging,
Yeah.
but
yeah, because originally, I think the neighbors thought that they were going to dredge all that sand.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't send it anywhere.
Right.
It's got to
No.
be tested.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Get
state
tested
won't buy
first.
it,
Yeah.
you know? So, but anyway,
But I think we approved 100,000 for the town meeting for the ponds?
For the continued treatment of Highland Lake and City Mills Pond, and then additional treatment of Comies,
And the one Camger across from.
the limited populatic treatment, and then a small amount of funds for educational type things like canoe washing events, you know, how to, you know, properly wash your boat before you bring it between different water bodies, because from what I understand, I think that's like one of the ways milfoil has just,
Proliferated.
yeah,
yeah.
because some of the places, were you talking about, Val? Was it you that was talking about some of these canoe washing places, some like,
Oh, so the Quabbin Reservoir,
Yeah.
they have a lot of people will in that area have Quabbin only boats. But people who do take their boat somewhere else, they have to go to a approved car wash that's been modified to wash the boats.
Clams and all that.
And then in between that, Fish and Wildlife will actually like padlock your engine, so you can't take it
Oh, wow.
anywhere else. But that's
Yeah,
because
they-
it's a water supply for all of Boston
Kind of
Metro.
important.
Fish and Wildlife are getting very strict on moving boats from one body of water to another.
Probably about time, I guess.
Yes.
But
But the other thing is, Comies, were you able to contact somebody for putting a drop in? They want to put aerators in the pond, like, there's
Yeah.
one at the farm over off of Warren Drive. That's one of the things they want to do, but we got to get the monies appropriated to put a drop on the telephone pole there so they can get power to do that. And I don't know if you were able to contact anybody in that?
I was not able to contact a lineman who would know the best, but I was able to contact several union electricians who were able to give me, you know, a rough estimate, and then I increased that. I doubled that just in case.
So it is possible we get somebody that can put a drop in, and we can get that done then.
Yeah, and
Which is
there's
great.
there's actually 2 existing utility poles, and there's a transformer right there,
Super.
which based on comparison of pictures online, seem to be single phase 120 volts, which is, I guess, the best for this type of system. So
The pond is, what did you say, 1.8,
1.2,
2 feet deep?
or no, it's average is 3 feet deep.
Yeah, its average is 3 feet deep, but it's actually probably about 6 or 8 feet. The rest of it's all mud and
yes,
sediment that has nowhere to go.
yeah, you
And-
can't stand in it.
Yeah, it's, so, it'd be nice if we could get it cleaned up. I see kids fishing there, I don't think it could support fish.
And I
The
believe-
oxygen's probably too low.
Yeah, I think it is too low.
Yeah.
I believe the town owns the property in between Comies and City Mills.
Yeah.
So,
That wooded area?
yeah, so there's a potential to, you know, really expand on like a
Some money
recreational
and
area.
trench it.
It'd be awesome if we could get that cleaned up
Like a
enough and there's
canal.
parking a little there and that you could have, like, you could stock it with trout and kids could go fishing there.
Yes, that would be very cool.
You know, we had that in Attleboro for a long time at a pond, there was a private pond there, but you don't have that anymore. You don't
Yeah.
see kids out fishing and doing that, but we'll see.
Okay. So I guess the only thing we'll have to do is vote to close the meeting. I just need a motion.
Al Finney, so moved.
Second?
Also my second.
All right.
9:05.
All in favor, say
I'm not
aye.
gonna say it.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.